Hello, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. So we're gonna start the webinar today. Let me share my screen. Okay. Let me know if you see my content now. So I think, Anna, you have joined. If you can confirm in the chat. Okay. So one second. Okay. Sorry. Again. Okay, so let's start with today's agenda, which is basically we are going through a quick overview of the new invoicing mandate in Germany, which is coming into effect the 1st of January 2025. We are going to see then how to basically achieve compliance in SAP for this initial phase. And yeah, we are going to see at least some tips or strategies to optimize your invoicing process, or how to basically look into it, right, in the near future. So we will end up with a Q&A session. Okay, so we are going to go first through this overview of the Germany invoicing mandate. So first thing to know is, of course, it will apply to all B2B sales. And yeah, so any transaction between domestic taxpayers, so it will come into effect the 1st of January 2025. And yeah, so what it comes into effect initially is that all taxpayers should be able to receive invoices in electronic format, right? So the mandate doesn't require us to issue invoices in electronic format to our customers. That's coming in a later phase. So initially we will need to receive invoices, right? So there are some exceptions, which are basically low value invoices, so less than 250 euros. So transactions with legal persons that are not basically a company or an entrepreneur. Yeah, and a couple of more things like tickets issued to for the transport of passengers, and some other goods and services in connection with real estate, right, or properties. So this is the main takeaways. So these are the main takeaways to take to carry with you right today. So in terms of what does it require, right, the law. So first thing is we will need to accept, because remember this is about reception of invoices, so we will need to accept ex regnum format in CII or UBL. This is basically what the EU basically the European Union let's say mandates as well. So each and every country in the European Union in the coming years will need to accept for sure CII and UBL. And of course, you know, in Germany, there's another format like coming from some years ago, which is called ZUGFeRD. That is basically a PDF with an XML embedded, right? So there's an XML within the PDF. And yeah, I mean, if you agree with your vendors, you can use any other format that is compliant with that norm in there, okay? So there are other formats like FactorX and others that comply, and then if you agree with your vendors, you can use. So another thing, this is important, there's no need for electronic signature. So an XML would be valid by itself with no signature on it, as long as you have, so your internal controls basically to guarantee the transaction. So who is the issuer, who is the receiver, that the goods or services have been delivered, blah, blah, blah. So as long as you have your, let's say, internal controls in your ERP, that's enough. Another thing is that, of course, I mean, there's no need anymore for a PDF or a graphical representation, so an XML file would be enough. So point number 4, I think, is one of the key things which is the email, it is allowed. Okay, so you can use an email, meaning there's no need, at least now, to be on PayPal. There is no need to use. So wait a second, because it seems the screen is not moving. 1 second. Because I was moving in the presentation and I think you are not seeing it, right? So 1 sec. Sorry, guys. Let me share my full screen because I was moving the presentation in another screen. But let me share my screen, the whole of it, and that's it. So I think it will be quicker. So we're going on it. Okay. So we were here. So I was basically here. Sorry, guys. Can you confirm? So Anna, can you confirm in the chat that you are seeing now the correct screen, which it is the one with the 6 points. So the previous slide was basically this one. Okay, with the different, yeah. So it's basically B2B. It's basically starting January the 1st, 2025. So you will need to receive electronic invoices, and then this is the summary I was going through, right? So it's basically X-Regnum, so XML or PDF with embedded XML. No need for e-signature, and XML is enough. And then a key point for the current status or the current phase of the law, which is an email is allowed. So there is no need to transmit or send the invoice by PayPal or any like public platform or anything. So an email between your vendor and you, it's more than enough. And so there's another, let's say, requirement that the XML part, so either if the invoice is an XML or if it's a ZUGFeRD, right, the XML part must be stored or archived so that it cannot be modified. So that's key thing, of course. And then, yeah, I mean, that's the first phase. So the second phase or a later phase of the law basically will require you to issue invoices to your customers as well. But that is coming later on, like that's 2027, 2028, and it will depend on the revenue of the previous year. So there will be some companies obliged in 2027 and some others coming 1 year after, right? So for the moment, so we just need to receive invoices, by email is enough, and yeah, so there are different formats, right? So how basically do we comply in SAP with all this? So we have like some minor, let's say, requirements, right? So which is we will need at least to receive emails from vendors and process their attachments. So I'm basically highlighting emails because that's going to be for sure the most common way of transmission initially, at least. Although you can definitely agree with any of your vendor to use any other medium for transmission, except physical mediums, right? So a USB, for example, that's not permitted. So it needs to be basically communication through the internet, yeah, wherever, or however it is. An email is fine. You can use, as I said, PayPal, etc., but that's not mandatory. So having an email inbox, that's fine. Based on the day it is today, right? So we are already by the end of November. So I would say, guys, if you are not ready still, yeah, definitely go with email, right? So we will need, of course, so any valid solution will need to extract the XML within the ZUGFeRD PDF. So with that XML or the X-Regnum proper XML, you will need to map it right to your SAP data. And up to, let's say, up to that point, that would be already compliant, right? So as a nice to have, and of course, to get the maximum value, right, out of invoicing. So as we are already receiving an electronic invoice with structured data, so in an ideal world, right, we should use that to automatically process and post the invoice, right? So we can apply checks and validations over invoice data, enhance that data for matching, approval, and posting. So trigger approval workflows for sure, and have the approval workflow within the system, not manually anymore if you keep doing that. And of course, post the invoice in FI, so in the proper SAP module where the invoice needs to finally get, right? So there are some solutions that already comply with this, of course. Remember, we are just talking of reception, and that's why, so OpenText Vendor Invoice Management plus the OCR solution, right? So either it is IES, which is so Information Extraction Service, or BCC, Business Center Capture. So Vim plus its OCR can be already compliant, and we will see afterwards which versions basically support which things, and so there will be more or less work required. So our own product, of course, Invictia, which is an add-on for SAP, and you have the option, of course, the standard SAP option, which is SAP DRC. Lately, it is the Cloud Edition. The thing is, as of today, SAP DRC supports ex-Regnum, so supports the cross-industry invoice, so CII, UBL, but it does not support ZUGFeRD. So we don't know if that's coming in the near future or not, but the latest version of SAP, so the DRC Cloud Edition, that's basically what it supports as of today, right? So we have here, which I think what it is basically the main, I would say, the core of the presentation of today, right? So it is basically a comparison. You can see there I have included like an estimated cost, estimated, of course, weeks to put that basically to work, and the different basically functionalities they have, right? So in terms of automated reception, any solution can do that. So extracting the XML from ZUGFeRD, SAP DRC, the Cloud Edition, does not support ZUGFeRD for the moment. So in OpenText, we will need to check the OCR version, as we are going to see later on. Any solution, so all those can storage the XML part, of course. They can map the XML data to SAP data. They all have an invoice cockpit, so where you will be able to see all the invoices you received, right? So all electronic invoices. Of course, if you choose, or if you already use Vim, you will have all invoices in there. So either they are PDF, common PDF invoices, or electronic invoices. You will see them all in one place. Check and validate invoice data. As you may know, that's the core of the OpenText Vim solution, of course. So our solution Invictia already does it as well. And then in terms of DRC, so what you need to understand with the SAP DRC solution is that it is basically, or exclusively, right, a compliance solution. So basically, it task sends when they receive the invoice within SAP. That's all, right? They don't do, so DRC doesn't do anything else. And the standard scenario to process basically the incoming invoice is to integrate with OpenText Vim, right? So you will, in any case, if you want to process the invoice automatically, you will need Vim or a custom development, of course, right? So that's always in the picture, or that's always an option. But if you want to go the standard way, let's say, or with an already built product, you will need OpenText Vim for all the matching, approval, posting, if you choose DRC, right? So then, so we have all these approval workflows, etc. That both OpenText Vendor Invoice Management and our solution does. And then we come to a point where it says basically ready to issue e-invoice to customers. That's not necessary today, of course, right? So that's not needed by the 1st of January 2025. It will be required in 2027. So that's something at least you would need to think about, right? So if today you go with OpenText Vendor Invoice Management because you already have it and that's the quickest solution, probably, blah, 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 that's fine. But you need to be aware that in 2027, you will need to introduce another solution to send electronic invoices to your customers, right? So they all require a software license somehow. So of course, OpenText requires the license for the software for Vim plus the OCR. Our core product, so Invictia, also let's say a license, and it has a running with a compliance platform of our choice. We'll see later a couple of three of them. And SAP, so it has its own pricing based on volume, right? Based on number of invoices that you are going to process, right? So this is basically the picture on how you can get or how you can be ready in 4 weeks. So that would mean basically that you start today or next week, you can still be ready by the 1st of January 2025. There's a key point here, right? So you are, of course, so it is mandatory to receive electronic invoices. That means that to receive electronic invoices, some of your vendors, at least one, should send you electronic invoices, right? So we still don't know, right, what's going to be the adoption of electronic invoicing since the 1st of January 2025. So it may happen to you that you implement the solution and in the first month you just get, I don't know, like 20, 50, 100 electronic invoices. It may happen you receive none, that may happen, or it may happen that you receive 1,000. So that's something we still don't know. And of course, that's something you will need to decide on your end as well, right? Whether you want to, as of today, even if it is not mandatory, issue electronic invoices to customers, because that's something you can, right? So that part, that's still to be seen in real life, right? So when the date comes. But to get prepared, basically, these are some things you can do. So we are getting a little bit into detail on vendor invoice management first, and we are going through the other two solutions as well. So if we talk vendor invoice management, there are two different solutions, right? So if you are already in Vim vendor invoice management 7.6 in ECC, 20.4 in S4HANA, and you are in SP6 or higher, so SP6, 7, or 8, that means basically that you can use a new universal handler that OpenText has delivered. So it has been delivered with the SP8, but it can be installed, let's say, as an additional patch in SP6 and 7. So that universal handler basically means that you can designate one email address. You can receive any format in that email address, meaning XML, UBL, CII, ZUGFeRD, or even common PDF. So you can receive anything in that email address, and Vim basically with this universal handler will do what it needs to do with the CII, the UBL, the ZUGFeRD, or the PDF, right? So that's basically, which is, I mean, that's a great way to go, but it requires SP6 because basically the XML mapping that it is using, that is something that is a new functionality delivered with SP6, and that's why it cannot be installed or implemented in SP5 or lower, right? So that's a great way to go. The second option, if you are not in SP6, 7, or 8 of the latest versions, so you will need to go to, let's say, custom development to kind of replicate, right, what this universal handler does. With a different, let's say, coding or different technology, because we don't have the XML mapping technology that came with SP6. So if you are in a lower version, you will need some additional developments and a couple of custom handlers within Vim, right, within the inbound process, let's say, to receive the UPL and map it. So that's already coming with SP5. That's the only standard thing, let's say. For cross-industry invoice, that's something that we need to, of course, map by ourselves. So that's something custom that needs to be done. And yeah, so there is basically some work there to, when the email comes in, decide, so based on the attachment format, where to route it, right? So it can be done as well, and it's kind of be, let's say, an easy solution. And there is one important thing, which is for ZUGFeRD, it will depend on your current OCR version to support it or not, right? So IES, which is, or Information Capture for SAP Solutions, which is the latest version of the OCR, in any version, they support extracting the XML from the ZUGFeRD. If you are still on business so Business Center Capture, that will depend on the version. If you are in one of the latest versions, there is already also a patch that can be installed, right? If you are on VCC on an older version, then you would not have support for ZUGFeRD, and we will need to look for an alternative solution, right? So this is if you have been basically the photo of how to support or be compliant with all Germany electronic formats, depending on the version, right? And so there's also the option, if you are in a lower version, right, to upgrade to the latest package and apply the new handler solution. So the only thing with that one is, of course, it will require a bit of time. So it's pretty difficult to start in less than 4 weeks. But that's also something, of course, in there to consider. So if we come to the second option, which is Invictia, which is our own solution, we always show the outbound flow. It may be interesting for you. You decide to send already electronic invoices out to your customers. But we are going to focus today on the inbound flow, right? So either if we receive invoices by email or through PayPal or other private platforms, so we can get all that into any of our partners here. So we basically work with Edicom, B2B Router, Ceres. We have all these three already integrated with SAP, right? So this basically means we are going to receive the invoice from them. We can even have OCR on top of common PDFs if that's something you want to do as well, right? To unify the invoice inbound process. So we can receive the invoice. So this one of these partners, the one you choose, right? They will do the format conversion. So whatever format it is, or whether it is ZUGFeRD, they will extract the XML. And we will always receive in SAP in our Invictia solution. So we will always receive a UBL, right? We will receive a UBL plus the original invoice in whatever format it was. So it could be the ZUGFeRD or a CII or whatever. So we will receive a UBL plus the original invoice plus, that's optional, a PDF representing the invoice, right? So the PDF in there, it's not, of course, a legal document at all, and it will just be used to help basically the user process the invoice in the system, right? That's all. So in SAP, we have our Invictia cockpit so you can choose there, right? So if you are already using the SAP e-document framework, which is part of DRC, you can use our solution within e-document, or you can use our own cockpit. So that's up to you to choose. So we give that freedom, right? The only difference with our cockpit is that it already has an automatic posting engine. So if you don't have, or if you are not using OpenText Vendor using invoice management, you can still automate the processing of the invoice with our own add-on, right? So yeah, the posting is happening afterwards in SAP MM, FI, so Miro, FB60, whatever transaction that needs to happen, right? So this is a little bit the look and feel. So just for the ones who don't know it, super brief. So this is an SAP add-on. It was meant originally to issue and receive electronic invoices, invoice statuses. Now it does more things. So we now integrate an OCR solution, and we integrate also with treasury solutions. And yeah, we do a bit more than just invoices. So we also process POs or delivery notes, etc. So, but in short, it's basically there to guarantee the integration between your SAP system and any public platforms, private platforms, so vendors, customers, in terms of electronic invoicing, right? So we don't have the Fiori app released yet, so it is pretty advanced, but we basically, our plan is to make it available in Q1 2025. So if you are already working in Fiori or prefer to work in a Fiori application, whether it is in SAP BTP or in your on-prem, let's say Fiori Launchpad, yeah, you will have that application available, right? In terms of SAP DRC, so this is the SAP standard solution. Right now, basically, it works with the ex-regnum format, so no ZUGFeRD supported by the moment. and they support basically B2B by email. So you can send or you can receive, let's say, the invoices by email, and you can also connect to the PayPal network. That's all, right? So, of course, as we said before, this is just a summary. If you want to automatically process the receipt invoice, you will need OpenText Vendor Invoice Management in any case, right? So these are the three components of SAP DRC, which they are part of the solution, which is the e-document in ECC, AIF, ECC or S4, right? Which is also on the ERP solution. And then you have the cloud component, SAP BTP, which is the one doing the connectivity, right? Or receiving the email in this case, right? So this is how it looks like, the schema on how the solution works, right? Now, what you basically are the key takeaways or strategies, right, to optimize your e-invoicing process. So if you are starting now with electronic invoicing, or you basically want to rethink it, right, because you may already have countries where you are using electronic invoicing, Latin America, where it was mandatory since many years ago, or Italy, for example, you may be there. So basically what you need to understand and what you need to do, right? So first thing, and this is probably the most complicated, which is get ready in advance, meaning, so electronic invoicing is coming, VIDA is coming, you know, so VAT in the digital age in Europe, so the whole, so all the countries in the European Union will have like new electronic invoicing laws applicable to all of them by 2035, I think it is. So in these coming years, and that's why, right now, many countries are already implementing e-invoicing solutions. So, you know, so Germany, it has this calendar that we showed. Spain is coming, France is coming, so Belgium is coming. Many of them already have a plan for the next 2-3 years where it will become mandatory, and there will come a time where all of them basically will also come into a, let's say, a network, right, where electronic invoices will be exchanged across Europe. So basically, get ready in advance with a solution basically that is future-proof, meaning knowing that more and more countries are coming, knowing there is a EU mandate basically or directive saying there are a couple of standard formats which are CII and UBL. Those two need to be respected by all countries, and this is because they will be the core of the whole European future solution, right? So if you already are prepared to receive or issue UBL, CII, that will make you prepared, right, or ready for the future VIDA requirements. So whatever solution you choose, make sure that those formats are supported. Of course, if you already have a solution that's valid for you, like OpenText Team for Germany, I mean, that's, of course, I would say right now, right? So it may be clever, it's a valid solution for Germany, for example. So it's a quick way of being compliant without any like additional tool investment. And of course, so the third point is, as you are receiving an electronic invoice, structured data, so take the opportunity to automate your accounts payable process, right? So that's, of course, what we always say, right? So do not see this new mandate as a mandate, an obligation that's going to cost you money, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you should see it basically as an opportunity to automate your processes. And in this case, the accounts payable process, that's something like super easy to see the return, right? So the return of investment, it's typically super easy to calculate. And yeah, so these are basically the three things I would say you need to keep in mind when thinking about electronic invoicing, right? So yeah, that's basically it. So I hope it was pretty condensed. So to Germany, the different solutions and how to be compliant in a quick way. So I'm going to stop sharing and see if there is any question in the chat. So I don't know, guys, if you have any question in there, and sorry for the issue with the screen sharing in the beginning. So any question in there, you can, I think you can type in the Q&A section. So if there are no questions, I think we can close here. I think, I mean, some of you are already customers, you know me. So if you need to contact me, I mean, you know my email is edjimenez@bright.cc. So any of you, I'm going to type it here. Okay. So you all have it. And yeah, in case, so, okay. Mary Carmen, yeah, you can contact me. So in case you have any question, yeah, please reach out to me. And thank you very much for your time, guys. And thank you for attending the whole time. Thanks.